there's a lot of them on here, but you know, I'm one of the people that maybe in your circles that.
That's true. It's true.
Okay, so we're live. We don't really know what the hell we're doing, but we're gonna go for it anyway. This is just a working title. What the fuck is SEO with Bobbi Jo? We have John Ellis to my extreme, well, maybe to your extreme right, and in the middle we have Jason Brick. Hello, Jason Brick, and you're coming to us from where again?
I'm also a part of SEO. John is in charge of the geek side of it, the real technical SEO stuff. I'm a professional writer by trade, and I handle the writing aspects of SEO.
I meant location-wise, but okay, that's great.
I'm in Oregon.
Coming to us from where? Okay, well, that makes complete sense. And a lot of the stuff you guys do together is related to writers over in the PDX and the YMAT Writers Conference coming up, which is in August. When again, guys?
August 1st through the 4th.
Super. So anybody who's watching, if you'd like an invite, go ahead and make a comment in the post, and we'll go ahead and get you in here if you want to ask these guys anything. But right now, I'm going to let John kind of introduce you to this new series of Hangouts that we're tossing around to see what we can do with Google Plus Hangouts on air.
Well, thank you, Bobbi Jo. I'm John, and what we're doing here is a series of interviews, basically to find out about SEO. I teach SEO fundamentals. There's a lot of people out there that teach shiny object SEO, and that's what I like to call it. Run after this, run after that. We all forget that the fundamentals are the most important part, and these are all agreed upon. The basics of SEO have been pretty much set for years. It's the shiny objects, the fancier stuff that everybody seems to gravitate to, and business owners that are first coming into the world of the web, entrepreneurs, new writers in particular, need to understand that the basics still apply. It's the grammar and the punctuation of SEO that matters most. If you're not taking care of those details, then the other stuff is irrelevant. And so this is these talks are gonna parallel the 6 presentations at the Willamette Writers Conference. Just kind of an open forum. We'll talk about the fundamentals of SEO. You know, we'll talk about different ways to apply them in the industry. I'm open to questions. But the bottom line is that we need to get people back to the basics. And when you walk into this world of the web, you are totally overwhelmed with information. There's too much to see, too much to know. So distill it down, start with the basics, and that's the very simple principle of SEO is that it starts with keywords. So we're going to talk about keywords, keyword research, why we even bother, why we're still bothering to do SEO on the web right now. I see a lot of people putting out information about SEO is dead because of Penguin or Panda, or now that Google's initiated authorship, we don't need to do that anymore. That's complete shit. That is absolute bullshit. SEO is still the most important piece. SEO makes the difference between a website and a business website. SEO is performance for the web. And you apply SEO as a process to everything you do on the web. And it's your ability to apply it and the detail that you put in that SEO that makes it good or bad. And it all revolves around keywords. So we're gonna talk about that. So there.
So there. I'm going to come back to you on the shiny stuff too, because I want to talk about a little bit what that means. But
okay.
I'm the first to admit that I recently, like in the last couple of years, have kind of been falling into the trap of listening to people saying that SEO is dead and blah blah blah. And I think we already talked about this kind of one-on-one offline. So I'm going to be hopefully learning a lot about that from you. So I'm just checking to see if anybody else might be paying attention or interested or have questions.
So one question that hasn't been answered yet for the very beginners is John did a great job of explaining why SEO is important, why SEO is still important, and what parts of SEO are important, but he hasn't yet answered the what the fuck is SEO question.
Thank you very much, Jason. You're absolutely right. And this happens all the time. And for everybody in your own industry, you guys do this too. You're specialized. You know your stuff. You forget that what you talk about every day, other people don't know. I'll go in front of a presentation in a room and I'll start using that acronym, SEO, assuming that at this point in 2013, everybody knows what the heck SEO is. No, not the case. And I forget that. Search engine optimization. That's what SEO stands for. There we go. What was that? That's awesome. So SEO is search engine optimization. Switch to Jason. Do that again. Hold that up. Hold up your side. There we go. Lovely.
Sorry, I forgot I'm kind of in charge of like recording here, so I need to make sure to click on stuff that.
That's part of the camera thing that we have to explore, actually. It's supposed to help you with that.
Oh, is that's in the toolbox? Yeah. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah. So that's another fun thing about this. Hangouts, using Google+, we'll get into that too, but this is a very informal way to communicate with each other. This is not supposed to be like the nightly news, okay? This is informal. We can make it right, exactly. We can make it as formal as we want or as structured as we want, but the bottom line is we don't have to dress up in suit and ties. We don't have to make sure our background looks awesome. This is just an awesome way to talk with each other about things. Hangouts are the coolest thing ever. I just have to say that. Google, if you weren't a Google fan before, you will be a Google fan by the time you've watched a few of these.
I like to also profess my early addiction and enjoyment of Hangouts. The novel approach has sort of lost on me over time, but I still enjoy hanging out with friends and meeting new people on here. I just don't do it as much. I think within the first 3 months or something, there was a core group of us hanging out literally every night for hours and go to bed. So, but yes, it is a great way to get to know people, face to face. And, be able to reach everybody on a different level than you can't do with, you can't do it with chat. You can't do it with text. So.
Right.
Somebody new coming in. Hey, Gregory, how you doing?
Gregory, if you're the fourth person in or even the third person in, you probably have to unmute your mic. It's a standard within the Google Hangouts.
Little red microphone up top there, if you want to click that. I'd like to also profess my addiction. And we're muted. You know what? I'm going to mute you because you're listening to the broadcast. You need to mute the broadcast on air. Sorry, Gregory. Since you're in the Hangout now, you don't need to be watching it anymore. That's kind of how those work.
And we're all learning this stuff too.
Yeah, it's cool. I'm not, nobody's mad or anything, but I was concerned about an echo. So can I confirm that you've muted? Give me a thumbs up. Muted the broadcast? All right, I think he's still figuring this all out. We'll get back to him in a minute.
Awesome.
So, anyway, where were we?
We were still explaining what the fuck is SEO.
Right, we were getting there.
We know what it stands for now, search engine optimization.
SEO is a process. SEO is the process of optimizing your content for the web. Everything about it. You SEO your platform, you SEO your website, you SEO all the words, you SEO your images, you SEO your videos. Anything that you can produce on the web can have some SEO attached to it. Every time we engage in Google Plus or anywhere on the web for that matter, we can use SEO tactics. So SEO is a process that we learn, and we apply different aspects of that process to different pieces of our content on the web. It's understanding all those little pieces that takes time. Actual SEO is not that hard to do. It just takes time. It takes understanding of where we're doing it and why and how it affects everything. So if you're a writer, the courses, the Willamette Writers course, obviously for writers, the courses that I'm teaching are tailored towards writers on the web. If you're a writer, you have the skill that most of us lack. You can write. So the web is all about words. SEO is all about taking those words and turning them into performance statements, putting the right processes to them to make them more powerful on the web with the right keywords. Writers have that ability above all of us. And so, the big gap that we have here is that writers don't want to do this, or don't know how to do this, or don't understand that the web is really designed for them. It really was made for writers in the first place. And that's why the first presentation is called The Web was Made for Writers. So, I know, Jason, you're smiling at me. I did answer what SEO is. It is a process that we apply to everything that we do on the web for performance. All right?
Yes, it is.
And do we have Gregory in here now? Hey.
Yeah, I've got this figured out now.
Nice to meet you, man.
You know, we're always welcoming new people to hang out, so feel free to explore the interface. I know it can be confusing for most. Thank you. I guess somebody actually asked the question in the post when the Hangout broadcast is at. What the fuck is SEO? So thank you for that answer. I do believe I'm starting to really understand that SEO isn't just a way or a tool to manipulate search engines. It's really all about how you're presenting your content, and I'm learning that slowly but surely. And so.
Right. Well, and what's interesting is when you started in Google Plus, I mean, Google Plus was really designed for this, for SEO, more than any other place. Okay, but you got what do you have? Close to 100,000 followers right now?
I guess so. Yeah.
I mean, you've been on Plus from the beginning. You're one of the original adopters, an early adopter. You got those followers by doing what? I don't think it had anything to do with SEO. What were you doing?
Just time and place and meeting the right people and having those people kind of engage with me and let other people know who I am. Hang out with Louis Gray in the first, I think, month or whatever it was, and he's literally just sitting on his couch in his hoodie watching a football game and asking us how we're all doing and just kind of going around the room and what do you guys like about Google Plus? What do you hate about it? Blah, blah, blah. But it was kind of like he was literally like just hanging out at our house with us. And, you know, after that, he just kind of started talking about all the hangouts he's had and happened to mention the fact that I invited him to all my hangouts all the time. And so that kind of maybe boosted it, you know.
Okay, so what the key point in all of that really is that you were on the Google Plus.
I was hanging out. I was on Google Plus. I was making myself, just putting myself out there.
And you were using it, right? Daily.
Daily, hourly.
Right, and that's so that piece of it, engagement, is kind of the latest piece to the puzzle in SEO, and it's where Google's been trying to go for a long time. They said we're going to look at your content, but they've always been trying to look at the content better than they have in the past, and that's been their big problem. But with the release of Penguin and Panda, they've been able to really focus on the quality of your content. That's why most SEO people, consultancies, agencies that aren't capable of producing good content or hiring people that can produce good content, they turn to spammy techniques. But Google's eliminated the majority of the spammy techniques. They just don't work anymore. And so every time they do an algorithm update, they make it easier for writers and harder for people who don't want to bother to learn how to write, which is a tough skill. Right? And I'm not saying that everybody has to go out and learn how to become, you know, a Pulitzer Prize winning author. But if you know how to write already, you have the hard part down.
Right.
Now learn how to do the SEO part. The engagement piece. The engagement piece, which is spending your time on the web, that's the hardest part for everybody. That's the hard that when you flip that switch and you realize all I really have to do is recognize that my entire business lives on the web, and I can command it from one place, Google Plus, by producing content on my blog or content on Google Plus, sharing it and engaging about it. Engaging with a purpose, engaging to learn from others, engaging to share with others, engaging to eventually have business. But you're not engaging for business. You're engaging to make relationships, build trust, and eventually do business. And that's really the big shift.
Engaging to do business is something that I'm really familiar on, and we can maybe pull that up as another hangout topic. As an expert personal networker, as far as attending events in person, and kind of shaking hands and helping about and passing around cards and all that. I've been through the gamut of really horrible to really awesome networking events, so I know how to engage in person and how that works. We'll maybe talk about that in another topic, but I do agree that, you know, being able to write something that you know, you don't even have to be a good writer, I don't think, to be able to want to produce content that's SEO friendly. Just as long as you understand the fundamentals, right? And just...
Yeah, it certainly helps to be a skilled writer. We have brought up earlier about how some people have been saying Penguin and Panda spelled the end of SEO. It didn't, but it spelled the end of cheating at SEO.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of talk last week about the Penguin updates.
Yeah, and so you need to be at least a competent writer. If you can't write stuff that people are going to read the whole thing and tell a couple friends about it, you're going to lose to people who can't.
Well, being compelling and being good could be subjective to, you know.
That is absolutely true. Like John said earlier, you don't have to be a Pulitzer guy.
Yeah, no, I just was saying you don't necessarily have to be a good writer, quote unquote, to say that you'd be interested in this topic or that you can learn.
Well,
I know that you guys are trying to attract writers, so that's one part of it.
Is it fair to say that there's still a...
Sorry?
Hang on. Yeah, Gregory?
I think there's a bit of a delay in mine, so I'm not coming in at the right time. Is it fair to say there's still a tactical element to it, though, as well? Like, you're talking about using Google Plus and how that is, tied into SEO. Well, you've still got to, you can create the content, but you've still got to share it in a way. You've still got to sort of build your community so that you can do that. And I think that's the point where I'm getting in at right now. I've actually got lots of content. I just don't really have that sort of community to build up.
So that's an awesome question. So think about what we're doing right here, right now. We invited a whole bunch of people. There's 3 of us that actually started this call, and you are the individual that showed up. Thank you very much. And this is exactly how it's going to be for you. You have to forget about whether you have an audience and just produce the content. The way to grow so you write a post on your blog, all right? Take that post and share it in Google+. Write a summary of that post before you share it, okay? The rich text formatting, Google+ is actually its own blogging platform. Okay? So a lot of people now are just using Google+ as a blog, not even bothering with a different website. But I look at it as 3 different levels. So when you're trying to grow a fan base here, you start off with a nice 300 to 500 word blog post that has an image, that's got SEO, that's linking, that's a nice, you've written a good conversation piece. At the end of that blog post, you're asking a question so that you can engage people in that piece. You take that link and you go to Google Plus and you write a summary. Blog I wrote about this, that, and the other. It's about this, that, and the other. Let's discuss it. You publish that. Now, if you have one circle and it's got 5 people in it, great, share it with them. And then share it with public. Because really, you're pushing that out to the public. And until you have a large group of people, like we talked about, share it with everybody. Right? By doing that,
one thing I've noticed is I've been able to engage with some Google Plus users just in commenting on different posts.
Absolutely.
And is there any value to using comments and like linking back to my content in a comment if it's relevant to the post?
There absolutely is. Linking back to content within a comment is a selective thing. So look at it this way. You get credit for everything you do in Google+. And if you have authorship connected between your Plus account and your blog, you get credit for everything you do everywhere. Okay? Your blog, everywhere that you list yourself as a contributor. Right? So if you've got an account on Quora and you're using that login for Quora, you can list yourself as a contributor on your Plus account. Google will give you credit for those things. All right? Google is paying attention to all the signals you do. So every time you make a plus, every time you plus mention somebody, every time you drop a link, comment, all of it, they look at it. What gives it extra value, and there's 2 different ways in this extra value. The first piece of extra value is simply the value of your authority. So if you have an opportunity to comment and link back to something that's relevant, go for it.
Right.
But what makes Google Plus very different from other social platforms is you will get squished if you try to force your content. If you flip over that, if you cross that line and just start doing direct, blatant sales, which is what we've seen in all the other social networks, and why it just doesn't work there. All right. So.
Or adverticals.
Say that again.
Adverticals.
Yes. Yes.
There's always that thinly veined, thinly veiled like content that you think is, 10 ways that you can do this, and it turns out to be this whole sales pitch that, at the end maybe. Even those are really hard to enjoy, I think.
Would an e-zine style article be a good example of something that would engage well with users on Google Plus then? Like, not obviously you're not allowed e-zine. They make you save all that kind of stuff right to the very end.
Yeah, I wouldn't even bother with e-zine. Write your unique content on if you have a blog, write it there. You're sharing stuff from your blog. Right? Get your blog and Google Plus connected with comments. There's a plugin. If I don't know if you're using WordPress, you should be using WordPress. If you're not, get WordPress. There's nothing else to use. There's a simple plugin. It's free. Google Plus Comments. It connects your Google Plus account and what you do there with your blog comments. The reason this is beautiful is you share your blog on Google Plus. Anything that happens in the comment stream of that reshare will show up on your blog, and Google will give you credit for that. So the conversation can happen in both places. You don't have to worry about where people are going.
Right. I went ahead and I had posted a question in the chat here from Pete in Minnesota, but I went ahead and answered him in the post because you had kind of already covered that question early on before I saw it in the comments. He basically asked if SEO was more about writing of the content or adding the keywords so Google finds it, and I kind of just said, you know, it's really more about the way you're structuring your content and less about keywords.
And that's mostly accurate. So I don't believe in writing content with a keyword in mind. I believe in writing around your space. If you're writing every day, if you're in your business space, if you're engaging on the web, you should be able to write a blog post about whatever it is in your business space. Don't think about keywords. Write the blog post, then go back. We haven't talked about keywords, category structure, and all that stuff, but write naturally, then go back. Take the keyword space you're focused on, and then work the keywords, work your SEO into that content so that it's still natural. That's a great question, Pete. It's really not just about writing. It's not just about SEO. It's not just about sharing or engaging. It's about all of those things together. Google made it easier and harder at the same time because they're saying it's not just good enough to produce the content anymore. You have to produce it, you have to SEO it, you have to share it, and you have to talk about it. And that conversation has to be timely. That conversation has to be valuable. That conversation has to be relevant. So a bunch of pluses don't count. A nice engagement piece around that conversation, you know, around that content, that's what they're looking for. That's what Google wants to see. That's how Google knows that the content was worth it. If you got engagement around it, then Google says, wow, this was some pretty good content, and we're going to give you a lot of credit for that because obviously other people thought it was good too. So to answer Pete in a long-winded way, it's content first, and content is the most important. It's got to be written well. It's got to be formulated well. Google is grading it like your worst AP teacher. They do see the entire structure. They are looking at it, each paragraph, each sentence within the paragraph. They're looking at grammar, punctuation, spelling. Yes, they can, and yes, they do. So that
how would
is
you
the most
address?
important. I'm sorry?
Sorry, I was just going to ask, how would you address the content that's directed at a fairly niche market where you might have a hard time finding appeal and engagement for users generally on Google Plus, but you still want it to rank well, on Google for organic keywords, and maybe Google Plus isn't necessarily the best place to try and share that type of content because there might be a limited audience for it, but presumably if you do get that limited audience, they're going to be more engaged with it, I guess. I'm just thinking that Google Plus is still, it's a fairly new platform, so it's going to be harder to find the right people to engage with that kind of content.
That's a great statement, and let's talk about that. So you're right, not all content is best on Google Plus. However, about 90% of it is. Okay. So in terms of engagement and fans, and there's an infographic that's going around right now, Facebook still has the most engaged fans. All right. Now, they may have over 1 billion people in their platform, but only about 600 million actually do anything. And I don't have the exact stats. This was just running around. Google is the second most, with more than 300 million active. And Twitter is in third place, with less than 300 million active. So, Twitter may have more users than Google, but in terms of people actually being there and being active, Google's number 2. There are 300 plus million people in there and active. So so I would say that it's there. If you haven't found that group, they exist. Search for it. You will find fan bases. It's with each industry, with each niche. What I have to do when I'm working with a client is I have to look at what's around it. If I can't find enough people in just that direct niche, what's the periphery? What else is relevant? What else can I draw into that? Right? So if you've got an example, we could explore that, and we could go down that road, although I know Bobbi Jo's telling me we're 25 minutes in, and I have no idea how long we're actually going to run this show.
I mean, we could do it for as long as we have an interested audience and questions. I mean, I'm not concerned about running over, but, we don't want people to drop off and be like, well, that was boring. So.
What do you want to do, Greg?
I can provide an example. I mean, I blog for a company that runs a bunch of cash for gold stores.
Okay.
And it's not the type of thing that people typically discuss on social media, but
right.
It's something that it's there's some interesting content that comes up, and I post at least one post a week.
Okay.
The problem is getting that kind of engagement, because I really don't think that social media is necessarily the platform that people want to engage with that kind of content on. So I'm trying to get it to rank well. Obviously, if somebody's searching for, how much is a 1921 American Buffalo coin worth, kind of thing, I want it to rank well. But then talking about it on social media doesn't really seem to get much of a response.
Okay, and that's okay. So first of all,
I know you have an answer, John, but I want to add to his question.
Okay, go for it.
I notice when I do searches, if I click on personal results in Google search, I get stuff that I didn't even know people were posting about that are either in my circles or my extended circles that come up as relevant top results on things that I'm searching for. Just general Google.com. So I could be searching for Asian noodles or a GMC truck, and I get posts from Google searches, Google Plus posts.
Yep.
Even from people that have 3 followers. So
yep.
I mean, that's something I wanted to point out.
And how do you get to that?
Well, basically, I just I just go to Google.com search.
Yep.
What Bobbi Jo is explaining here.
I'm going to do a screen share really quick.
Okay, why don't you do that? She's talking about personal results, which everybody gets now with Google unless you purposefully ask it not to give you personalized results.
Let's say GMC trucks. No, I'm going to actually do a search for Google authorship.
Well, we should. I know the people we're going to show up for there.
So I already have, as you can see, I already have this little icon pressed down. It's like, if I click this, it's kind of a depressed toggle switch. So you can already see that there's, just regular blog posts. But right here is a Google Plus post in one of the communities. So this is a bad example. Usually I've got 2 or 3 things right here on top that are Google Plus posts, if it's a good topic.
Well, it's all right. You've got one at the top there. You've got another one down underneath.
Yep.
Okay. And so hold it still for a second, Bobbi Jo.
Oh, sorry.
It's all right. Go back to the thing and just hold it still for a second. So, Greg, what we're looking at here, that second link, Google authorship, and it's plus.google.com authorship. I mean, that's their
That's their D Plus brand page.
Right. You see who shared that? We get who shared that in Google Plus. Okay.
Dana Nystrom. She's in Finland, I think. She's a big plusser. Huge plus.
The next one down the list that has that little person on it, that's one of your personal searches. Okay, where it says authorship inside search. So that you're seeing that because you're connected with that through Google. And the next one down, Gregory, where it's got the person's picture, blog kiss metrics. Okay, that's what authorship. That's one of the small things that authorship does. It puts that image in there for you. So it makes that stand out.
I also have Google Preview extension turned on, so that's a Chrome extension. So these 2 top things shouldn't really have pictures. The reason this has one, though, is like John explained, because he has an authorship on his blog. He's linked to himself, and it says right here, he's on 4,500 circles on Google+. So if I turn that extension off, let me just do that really quick, the preview. Sorry, I'm kind of drilling down into boring stuff, but I think it's important to note that without the preview turned on, you're going to notice an extreme difference in these results. Where the heck is it? Here it is. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and refresh this search. I have a Chrome extension because I'm a visual person and I like to look at previews of what I'm searching for. Now you notice these two links are still here. The only one that's really got a picture is this. Why am I echoing?
Right. Does that make sense, Gregory?
Has there been a noticeable increase in click-through rates on posts with Google authorship?
Absolutely. I mean, just think about it. If you've got a picture there, that's a trust factor. If it says several of your friends plus this post, that's a trust factor. This was reviewed by your friends, that's a trust factor. Anything that has a little person head next to it is a trust factor. Now, we're looking at personal search and authorship connected, but yeah, having your face there, massive increase in click-through. Right? Posts in Google Plus, and this is one of the major differences, one of the reasons why they're so valuable. And we're gonna get back to your space because I think your space is awesome, and I have questions about the kind of content you're putting up there or you could put up there. Okay, so you could do 200 to 300. The way the web is set up now is we've got blogs, which should be about 500 words. It should be a work. I mean, writing a blog post takes time, and then you've got to SEO that blog post, and you should be SEOing an image with alt text and description and a title that are connected to authorship, taking that, writing a summary, putting it in plus, okay? And this is where we start to when you originally you'd asked about the tactics, the strategy. What are we doing when we take these posts to plus, okay? The first piece of the strategy is just making sure it's fundamentally SEO solid. So you've written it on your blog and you've made sure that whatever you've done there, all the little SEO BBs, they're stacked. And that's really what SEO is. SEO is a lot of little BBs that if you stack stack as many as you can, you get weight. If you only do a couple of them, it really doesn't fly. SEO is about the details. So you do the SEO in the blog because that's where the power lies. You take that post and share it in plus. You're sharing it with the public for right now because you really don't have a group that's interested until you find one, okay? So you share it with the public in whatever circle you have. That way it's a public post so you can view ripples. You also get a permanent link to that URL. So you can grab that URL, you can track it, you can see what's happening with it, Google Analytics. You can reshare it just as its own link. So you can do a lot of different things with a publicly posted plus post that you can't do on any other social network. And the value there is immense. And just like Bobbi Jo was pointing out, these plus posts are ranking in Google, in organic search, as on their own, as blogs, as blog posts. And when you consider Google owns the search engine, Google owns plus, and Google is caring more about plus probably than anything else. They can obviously say they don't, but come on, really? So, you get more weight, you get more value out of it being there, right? And that's
so our web guys, they set up some sort of an extension or a plugin or something so that when I write a post on Google Plus and I include a specific hashtag, okay, it actually exports the Google Plus post out to our blog. And I mean, they did that supposedly for SEO purposes, but I've been told from other people in the industry that it might be just as good or maybe even better to write the actual content on the blog and then share it from the blog to Google+. Do you have any thoughts on the differences between the two there?
Yeah, it's if they're taking the content verbatim and pulling it over with some kind of script and displaying it on your website, you're either going to get knocked for duplicate content, okay, because that shouldn't be happening, and there's absolutely no value to that being there in terms of SEO. There's value maybe for people who are coming to the website and seeing it, but your website isn't going to get any credit for it, and it's really it's backwards.
Well, we were using it in lieu of blog posts. Like, you know, typically we would write a blog post within WordPress. We would use that as our content manager, but they had us for a while, and I stopped doing it because it didn't seem to do anything. They had us basically writing blog posts in Google+.
Right.
And it pre-populated it into our blog, but didn't seem to do anything.
Well, so I mean, I'd like to ask you about that. We'll have to do that another call. I think what we'll do here is, Bobbi Jo, let's wrap this up in 10 minutes.
Yeah, what I'd like to do is maybe take future sessions of the Hangout and discuss a little bit more about Google authorship.
Yes.
Discuss a little bit more about some stuff that I put in the chat and it's now lost because my stupid Chrome crashed. For the first time in 3 months, Chrome does not crash except on the day when I'm broadcasting a Hangout. I think one of the other things that we wanted to talk a little bit about was Greg's comment. Is Greg or Gregory, do you have a preference?
Greg is fine.
Okay, as Greg was pointing out, the blogs, the Google Plus post comments in your blog, I've seen it. It works. Some people like it, some people hate it. We could discuss that. Another thing we want to also get into is, of course, SEO Wise Guys, Wayne at Writers Conference. Boy, that's a mouthful.
Sure,
good thing you're not calling it a William at Writers webinar or workshop, because then that's too many W's.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, those all sound good. So, Greg, the process on the posts, we'll talk about that more, and I'd like to actually look at what you got going on. But the general rules are: write on your blog, share on Plus, or write something on Plus with a link back to something relevant on your blog. Okay.
I like the second option better.
Yeah, well, and it should be back and forth. I mean, you really should think of Google Plus as just another domain that you have control of that, you know, is separate from your blog that you guys share information. But you don't want duplicate content. It doesn't do any good to have that content go over there, really, right? So I would just tell your guys, I mean, that's a lovely idea. Maybe an excerpt, maybe, hey, new full blog post over here. I would be weary of what that looks like to Google as it's presented. I mean, the nice thing is if it's written on Plus, Google is very well aware of where the canonical lies, and that basically means they know that you put it on Plus first, and Plus gets credit for having it first. They're not necessarily going to knock you for duplicating it or letting it populate over on your blog, but it doesn't do you any good. Right?
I like that.
Part of the reason I stopped doing that. I used it for quite a while, but now with authorship, I've set up authorship on our blog. Great. And it wouldn't work with authorship. It posted all of our blogs as admin, so I couldn't get authorship on it. So now I've decided to just stop doing that because I just post on my own under my own author account.
Excellent. And okay, so you're posting under your author account, your Google Plus, and it's linked to your Plus profile?
The company has a Google Plus page, and I always make sure to share it on the page. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So you as the author, your Plus profile is getting all of the value and the authorship rank, the power out of this, everything you're doing. All right.
It seems to be. Yeah. It links through to my personal Google Plus profile. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. That's what I'm saying. So you technically are the face of the company, as far as Google's concerned.
Yeah, and that's how we wanted it. You know, I've done media and PR appearances for the company as well, so it works pretty well that way.
Excellent. Okay, cool.
One thing I wanted to ask, when I crashed my Chrome, I don't know how much further you guys were discussing the Google search results having an effect on your SEO, or like vice versa, but I would imagine that Google Plus has some sort of authority as far as ranking and having link back to or from.
Well,
like I say, I imagine. I don't know if I'm wrong. Right.
Well, yeah, the advantage is to use Google platform. I mean, that's really what they're trying to push us to. Look, there's no disadvantage to using everything on the Google Plus platform or the Google platform. All right, and while they can't, their algorithm isn't going to necessarily weight things in Plus higher than something in Facebook. There are SEO advantages just tied to being in Google Plus that you can't have in Facebook or Twitter or other places. So the advantages are there. They're not unfairly created by Google, but they are there, right? And that's what they want. This is their way to bring honesty and transparency to the web. They want to know who the real person is behind the content, and they want to make sure that that's genuine. And everything they've done has led up to this point. I know we got to quit it. What I'd like to do, we're going to do this again next week, same time I'm guessing. I'd like to keep down this road. Gregory, if you want to come back next week, I love the market you're in. And what I want to talk to you about is how it's the engagement piece. We haven't gotten there. We started talking about your content. And the first piece is the fundamentals of SEO, but I want to talk about how you can use that content and how we can write around it in different ways to actually bring an engagement, because my guess is what you're targeting is not really the audience that you really want. And we're gonna explore that in keywords, and there's so many fun ways to take your market and get people involved, and that's what I want to go down. So if you're game, I'm game, man.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds great.
Okay, cool.
Thanks for joining us here in the Hangout, guys, and thanks to our audience. There, I guess, was 5 people viewing, so thank you to you guys. If you have questions, feel free to circle up John Ellis, which I think I mentioned in the comments a couple times. Also, he should be listed in the Hangout listing when the broadcast is over, as well as the other 2 participants, Jason and Greg. Feel free to circle these guys. Join the SEO Wise community on Google+, which I've linked in a couple of other posts, and I will add it in comments. If you have any other questions, feel free to add those in the post as well, or get in touch with these guys, and we'll see you guys next week.
Awesome. Thank you. Willamette Writers Conference is August 1 through 4. Look it up.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Bobbi Jo.